What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about Faraday Future, give you a quick overview of some of the current data points and what logically could be happening with Faraday behind the scenes. So I'm going to go over all that, but first make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that said, let's get right to it. So on Thursday, it did close 5.04% in the green. So it had a very abnormal spike near power hour somewhat. So I want to break it down on what really caused that. But I think bigger picture, a lot of people want to know what is happening with Faraday. So as of late, there has been absolutely no news whatsoever. So last news did come out on March the 4th. So it's been a good month or so. And then SEC filings, there has been nothing. I think a lot of people have been still on the edge of their seat waiting for their, I guess, very late earnings, Q4 earnings. And then over and above that, most likely another preliminary 14A for another shareholder meeting. And that would be simply to approve another reverse stock split. That's just my own opinion, of course, because they do have to still rectify that $1 deficiency with the NASDAQ. So again, that is still kind of stuck in limbo. But even looking on their website as well, there hasn't really been all that much for changes. So I have been monitoring this just to see if they've been doing anything, and there hasn't really been anything new. So again, that might be a positive thing, negative thing. I'll leave it up to you guys to determine that. Maybe they've gone radio silent, just put their heads down just to get the damn job done, or there might be something in the works. But when it comes down to Faraday, my last video, I did talk on the spikes that did happen. I think one was like a 45% green day, the other was like a 20%. So it was kind of optimistic, and it did break the downtrend it was on. So as you can kind of see right here, it kind of skews into the background, but these 2 days right here, I did a video and I said what I felt, what was causing the abnormal volume and the green days, because there was, once again, no news, no SEC filings, and I do feel it is the outstanding warrants. So a lot of them have the anti-dilutive properties, so the lower the price, in essence, the more shares. And that's usually what does happen with companies that have these kind of damaging, toxic warrants, is that the price does go up because there's a lot of shares being injected into the system. So in my opinion, that is what caused this right here. But still, if you look at the 1 day, this was very abnormal. And for the most part, shorts have been sitting back and let Faraday just do whatever the hell they've been doing. But surprisingly, on Thursday, shorts did return some shares. So I'll give you a breakdown right now. So 39.89% of the free float is being shorted. 15.21 million shares overall are being shorted. With it today being Friday, it has reset these numbers. But if we do look at the intraday, ultimately shorts returned about 1.7 million shares. And so if you look at the intraday, ultimately this spike right here, or I guess this downward motion, which is again them returning some shares, they're actually the cause of this right here. So once again, kind of adds a lot of grayness to what is happening with Faraday. Why did shorts feel it justified to return that amount of shares just randomly? So again, there could be one of two possibilities that is happening behind the scenes. There could be a lot of shares being diluted just to kind of offset any lack of funding, or there could be a possible partnership coming down the pipeline. Because if you look at this note under their website, so this is Faraday announcing their master plan 1.1 to strategically position itself for growth in 2024. This came out way back in February the 25th, but beside the point, in here they do talk on Saudi Arabia. And so I really did like that. I think I even did a video about their live stream because I think that was very good. And Saudi Arabia and that whole region ultimately is spending a ton of money in EVs. That's part of their 2030 vision, right? So essentially, even though Faraday hasn't really been doing all that much, they do list a lot of assets here that could be worth something. So of course, I think we're getting to a very good reflection point where it could have some value at this price. This is why it's kind of stabilized around that 10-cent mark, in my opinion at least. And possibly some of the buying that's been happening over this last little bit, if it hasn't been warrants, it's been someone physically buying. And who has that amount of money? Obviously Saudis, or again, someone from that general area. So it could be a little far-fetched on maybe the takeover, but with it right now being a, 4.27 million market cap company, like there has to be some value. And in case you guys don't know, companies that are going to go bankrupt, I think right now the one that's kind of pending is Fisker. A lot of people are anticipating that. There's two different variations of bankruptcy. One is voluntary, other one is court driven. Faraday doesn't have the creditors, so it's not going to be court driven. It is ultimately going to be voluntary, and that's when they run out of share issuance and warrants and whatever else. But if you think about it, like the intrinsic value of a lot of the intellectual properties that Faraday does have and whatever that they do list right here, once again, like a lot of this probably has more of a value than 4.27 million. So if you think about it, there doesn't logically make sense for Faraday to go down much more than what it is. So don't get me wrong, I'm not being bullish, but I feel like right now would be a very good opportunity for a takeover. Of course, Faraday still does have to get over that $1 threshold by, I think it was June, if I remember correctly, or I might be off as far as the dates or confusing companies, but you guys get what I'm saying. They still have that $1 deficiency, meaning they have to do a reverse stock split, but based on the market cap right now, logically, like it might be a good takeover. So once again, that's just throwing that out there. Again, not meaning to be optimistic or anything. Looking at some of the options though, dollar value is just very small. So 1,200 in calls, 1,100 in puts. Sentiment wise though, you do see 66% of all the options being done on Thursday as bullish. And then moving on from here, just briefly looking at these points. So with it closing exactly at 10 cents, it's been able to kind of avoid that 10-cent deficiency again. So as I've pointed out in the past, if any company is below 10 cents for 10 consecutive trading days, this is where they are promptly kicked off the NASDAQ. But luckily enough, Faraday has been able to kind of recover and stay above that. So I think overall that's a good thing. Some strong support and resistance points for you to take note of, just shy or kind of 9 cents and change. So that's going to be a very strong support. So you'll want to watch for that to hold going into next week, and then vice versa, about 7.5 and change. And so I do feel, even though Faraday's really shit the bed royally, and again, it's kind of put itself back against the wall and given it no other option, it is either one of two scenarios that is playing out, either excessive amount of warrants just for them to stay alive. And of course, I think that will promptly mean that it's going to get delisted, because ultimately no way for it to get over that $1 or stay above 10 cents if they're constantly diluting, or it might be some bigger entity essentially buying. We just will never find out up until they do submit their earnings, and I don't see them really having any rush when it comes down to that, because they are, I think right now, about 1 month exactly late. So overall, let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Have you been buying Faraday? Have you been selling? What is your thoughts on Faraday? And do you think it's more associated to warrants, these abnormal spikes, or do you think it's some institutions or some entity out there that is buying shares on the cheap end for Faraday? But aside from that, one final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for an account with Moo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Take advantage of this. This is only up until March the 31st. So with that said, I appreciate all of you watching though.